Good morning, everyone. To those who are watching online, we are very sorry to start the program late. We're about to start now. Is everybody okay here? All right, let us pray. Father, we thank you this morning once again. Thank you for keeping us alive. Thank you for yesterday's program. Lord, today we pray that you will teach us new things, open our eyes, our ears to receive, to see. I commit the speaker before you, Lord, that you speak through him. We ask for your Holy Spirit. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Are slides on? Are the slides on? Yeah, okay. Good morning, everybody. I have some good news for you. You're coming to a program that is going to talk about overweight, obesity, a subject that can put fear into many people who are pleasantly plump and who actually dread it to coming to a program like this. So I want to first congratulate you for having the courage to come, because oftentimes when you come to a lecture like this on how to deal with overweight, you feel like you're being beaten over the head. The guilt trip's being created on you because you happen to have some extra weight. There's no guilt trip today that I can give to you. You are all in the best of hands to begin to understand there are particular reasons why we are in America an obese nation. It is not the result of you have poor willpower. Why don't you pray more about it and God will help you and give you strength not to fall for temptation. No. It's not that simple. These are simplistic recommendations that are being made. I want to give you some insights of how you cannot help but to struggle with overweight in our society here. Sounds okay so far? Okay. So my talk this morning is entitled, How to Eat More. Interested in that? And way less? Interested in that too? Okay, so then we're on a winning topic here today, right? Let me just give you a little bit of a video clip here. Can we play this? Some sound.
Anything we do in America is not common sense. It can't be. We're the most obese country in the world with the shortest life expectancy while spending the most money.
The reason our kids are likely going to live shorter lives than we are is because of the obesity epidemic.
What's happened is that our ever-industrious, creative, imaginative food industry got busy in the laboratories and came up with hyper-palatable food.
When you think about salt, oil, and sugar, they're not actually foods. They're food byproducts that have been concentrated that are added to actual food in order to stimulate dopamine production in our brain.
Humans are hardwired to be attracted to fat, sugar, salt for our survival. Manufacturers fuse them into products to create something we call the bliss point, and it becomes very challenging to stop eating.
Sugar, fat, and salt work in the same receptors in the brain where opioids work.
Many of these processed food companies were purchased by the tobacco giant. Do you think that the tobacco giant has some idea of how to habituate people?
Body fat takes hormones that come through it and converts them. It's an active chemical factory. For a woman, having too much estrogen can be linked to breast cancer.
Stop kidding yourself that eating this stuff doesn't have profound effects inside our body. This mass of fat releases an inflammatory cytokine. Biologically, obesity is not a state of health. Obesity is a state of inflammation.
There's a lot of conditions that are conclusively linked to excess body fat. Back pain and blood pressure, cancer, diabetes, arthritis, infertility, heart disease, and I could go on and on.
And when you eat these processed foods and you have dopamine insensitivity, it makes you more likely to become depressed. 100 years ago, 1 in 100 Americans are mentally ill, and now it's 1 in 5 Americans.
Our number one killer is cardiac disease, and yet the foods that create cardiac disease are subsidized by the government. That just cannot happen. We have to start subsidizing the foods that make us healthy, not the foods that make us sick.
Unfortunately, there's some authors who will say pretty much anything to sell books, and by telling people what they want to hear, it's a good way to make a bestseller. It just happens to be irresponsible because it's not true.
In medical school, doctors learn what we will get reimbursed for later on. In medical school, we get about 4 hours or so of actual nutrition education.
We've been told a lie for many, many years, and that lie is being perpetuated. There has to be a paradigm shift.
People always try to lose weight by exercising more, eating less, and starving themselves. That's the exact opposite of what you should do.
So a lot of us beat ourselves up because we think, well, it must be us. The problem is us.
You don't have to feel ashamed or hide because it's not us, it's the food.
Oftentimes people believe that their DNA is their destiny, that they're destined to be obese. And study after study is continually telling us that our DNA is not our destiny, that when people make dramatic lifestyle changes, that these things play a role in our epigenetics and begin to transform our body from the inside out.
We found in just 3 months over 500 genes were changed, turning on the good genes, turning off the bad genes, turning off the genes that cause weight gain, chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, and so on. And when you change the type of food, you can eat whenever you're hungry, you can eat until you're full, and you can still lose weight and keep it off.
You can't write anybody off. You never know what people have inside of them.
And we're begging you, just make this journey.
This was a national symposium on how to deal with obesity, featuring some of the recognized authority figures in the area of weight management. And what did you pick up from this introduction there? What are some of the ideas that you came across? The government subsidizes foods that are not promoting health, but actually erode health. That's kind of strange, isn't it? Yeah. We used to do that also with tobacco. The government was making so much money from the tobacco industry taxes that they were kind of hesitant to calling it off. Well, what else did you pick up? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry to... yeah, it's true. Physicians, we are not being trained in nutrition. The reason is that a physician, to be licensed as a physician after finishing medical school, has to pass a national board examination. It standardizes everything. And the national board that writes the examination questions, they don't have the awareness, or they are not thinking that nutrition is important. And so there is no nutrition question on the national board test. So the medical schools don't teach nutrition because nobody's going to be asking about it. Are you with me there? And furthermore, they say we're already cramming so much factual knowledge into these minds of these young medical students in 4 years, we cannot add an extra 6 months to the program to teach them nutrition, which is not being asked for in the national test anyway. So therefore, physicians are basically specialists in diagnosing disease and managing the disease, managing the symptoms, not curing these chronic diseases, but to be making you more comfortable. So they're not dealing with the cause of these chronic diseases. They don't talk about the cause being diet and lack of exercise and poor communication and stressful living and smoking. No. A doctor has 10, 15 minutes to see you. That's enough time barely to diagnose what is going on and then to give you a prescription, and you want to get out, right? You have a golf game to take care of. And so we are in a very difficult situation. We need a new way to handle these kind of chronic diseases, because chronic diseases are related to what people do on a habitual daily basis. How they eat, how they sleep, how they handle stress. These are the issues, and you cannot handle that in 10, 15 minutes. Even if you come to a doctor for an hour, it doesn't make any difference. Because if you want to establish a new habit, you have to do it for 21 days every day. So you almost have to see the doctor every day for an hour. But what happens? You see a doctor once a month or once every 3 months, and you've already forgotten what he told you last time, right? And so the doctor tells you, listen, you're overweight, you should lose some weight. Yes, sir. You go home and say, well, I should lose weight. I knew that. But how do you do this? And the doctor himself might be overweight, right? Yes. Yes. I want you to stop smoking. Well, how do you stop smoking, right? I mean, if you're a smoker, it's an addiction. You have to have a support structure. That's why it is so important to run these kind of programs in community settings, like in corporations or in churches. You know, these are the kind of things where we have support, because the culture by and large tells us, don't worry about a thing, eat, drink, and be merry, enjoy your smoking. Smoking is being done to take care of the stress that people have. Did you know that? Smoking reduces stress, internal stress. And so if they don't have the cigarette, so it's a very complicated process, and it means that we need to do it in a group setting ideally. That also makes it more financially viable, right? Because a doctor cannot spend an hour with you every day for 21 days. It's just impossible. So we need to have a new concept emerging, and so that's why I'm very happy to come and spend a weekend here with you here in Philadelphia. Now, we talked about that yesterday. You didn't see very much change in the American average size chair. You can see from 1900 to 1970, very little change took place. But then, in the last 30, 40 years, you all of a sudden see a huge expansion of the average seat width, because Americans have become larger, especially in the last 30, 40 years. And they no longer fit into these small chairs. I mean, I was on an airplane, and there was just one seat left, and that was right next to my seat. And they had just closed the door, and then they opened it one more time, and I was already dreaming of the idea that I have a little bit of space there, I can put my books out, I can do some reading, I have a 4-hour flight, and all of a sudden they open up the door one more, and a man comes in, large. I mean, he's not walking, he's waddling. I mean, ugh. And it's, oh no, there's only one seat available, it's right next to mine. I said, oh no. So I had to really make some changes in my mind, right? I had an attitude and an adjustment to make, right? Because, so he comes in, and you know, I'm a very nice gentleman. So I get out of my seat so he can wedge himself into the chair, and you know, he kind of opens up the armrest there, and it's very tight. I mean, he's just squeezing himself, wedging himself into this narrow space, and under his breath he says to me, isn't it terrible? They're making these seats smaller every year. So, overweight. And take a look. This is the map for 1985. And when you see the blue color, this is where we have a small amount of obesity in the society. Now, you remember, there's a difference between overweight and obesity. Overweight usually refers to a certain amount of overweight, and obesity usually it's more extreme, right? And then even in obesity, we have 3, 4 different categories. So I just want you to relax, and if I use the word obesity, don't internalize it and feel insulted or whatever it is. Just relax, because I just use some clinical terms here. I am here to help you and to see that you can make some changes. And when you make those changes, the weight will melt off 1 to 2 pounds a week, and you won't even notice it, and you have never eaten so much in your life. Are you ready for some of these kind of ideas? Yeah, that's right. But here, you see, obesity is found only, these are people that these are the states where obesity is found in about 10 to 14% of the people. So then, 5 years later, you see another map. You see what's happening? The states that are now having obesity has been enlarging to more and more states. Then you go 5 more years, and now you can see here, your dark blue means that 15% of the people in that state are obese. And then you go to the next chart there, 2000. Now you have a new category. That means more than 20% of the adults in those states in yellow are obese. And have you noticed something? Where do the color changes always begin? Where do they happen to start? It's always sort of in the south, isn't it? You see that? It's Mississippi, Louisiana, well, Texas, it comes close there too, yeah? And then you see, and this is what we call sometimes here, this is called the cardiovascular or cardiac corridor. This is where the heart disease rates are the highest in this area here. And people ask, why? Is it the geography? Or why are people having more obesity in these areas? It's largely a matter of the culture in that area. It has to do with education as well. You know, the more education you have, it seems that you are in a better position to understand what you need to do to make the changes, right? So it's culturally conditioned to a large extent, but it's also educationally mapped out. Then you look at 2005. Now you have another color coming up. Where's it starting? Where do you see? In the south, right? And then it spreads out to the east and later on to the west. Take a look. 2010. The colors are spreading now. And then if I would take you to 2015, the whole nation has become totally involved in an obesity prevalence. It's there. We are an obese nation, right? And when it comes to obesity, you have to really be concerned because obesity is not just a cosmetic issue. Obesity is a health issue because when you carry extra pounds, every pound adds more likelihood that you are going to be moving towards the expression of these chronic diseases such as heart disease and cancer and arthritis, and you have knee joint problems, you have depression. You know, all these things are being made worse when you carry extra weight. Well, here you see the chart that shows how from 1970 to 2020 till today, you see a gradual increase in the weight in this country. We didn't have that much weight issue until the 1970s. And you ask the question, well, what happened in 1970? That was a bad year, wasn't it? What happened in 1970? Well, let me give you some idea. But before I do this, I want to ask you, when it comes to obesity, who is really responsible for it? And my answer to you is, you are not responsible for being overweight and obese. How many of you say amen to that? No, just a minute. And I know you're very suspicious now, right? He's setting a trap for me. And then he's clobbering me, right? Well, let me rephrase the question. Or let me give you a different answer. You are not exclusively responsible for being overweight. Do you agree with that statement? Okay, you can say amen to that? Yeah, that's right, okay. So you are not exclusively responsible. You have to take some responsibility, but it's more complicated than that, right? Environment plays a role, maybe genetics plays a role, family habits play a role, culture plays a role, so it's much more complicated. So let me maybe do something else. If we say we are only partially responsible, or we are not exclusively responsible for where we are, then who are the factors that are contributing to obesity in our society? Give me some answers. Supermarkets. Why? What's wrong with supermarkets? You can get fruits and vegetables there. Well, but that's okay. No, that's okay. You just have to make a decision not to buy the stuff. But that's the hard part, right? Especially when they have the music playing there and you're distracted and you have kids with you and the kids want that and that and that and you don't want to embarrass anybody there because the kids, you don't want them to scream. See, it's the environment. Yeah, it makes it very difficult to really exercise a wise choice in this environment of a temptation, right? Availability, that's what you're saying, right? Yeah, very good. A good point. Something else. What are some of the factors that contribute to eating or the media? Tell me what you mean by that. I was at the airport and I saw the sign, America runs on Dunkins. Yeah, it runs on Dunkins. Yeah, right. Okay, so advertising, right? Big time, right? Making it attractive. And they sell the what do you call this? They sell the pizzazz. You can relax and enjoy, right? Yeah, what else?
What about the colors that they decide to package the food in, and also the colors of the fast food?
Oh, somebody's talking now about pretty sophisticated thinking, right? They use certain colors that are more attractive to the human eye, and they assign that to special foods, and maybe that makes it even more difficult to resist it. Anybody else? Yes? Can you? Yeah, again?
Baseball advertisement and you see the beer, the can of beer. So in your mind, without you knowing, you're associating beer with baseball game. And so it is with a different type of food. They put them together with something and you pass them.
Yes.
Knowing that in your mind,
yes.
Which is creating a pathway for you
yes.
to say you want this thing.
Yes. Very good. Subliminal, it's all part of the advertising scheme, right? And you go to the football games, and what do you do? What do you have? You open the back of the car, and you have what do you have there? Spinach and potatoes? No. What do you have? Hot dogs, right? And hot dogs are 85% fat, right? Hello? Well, yeah, that's right. So we talked about advertising. Any other factors? Yes. Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Just a moment. Yeah.
Okay. I noticed that if the parents are obese, then that contributes to the children. The way the parents eat, I noticed that the children eat the same way and the parents feed them the same way. And then you see a whole family of obese people. And these children are growing up like this with that family culture.
Very good point. Role playing, that comes from mimicking and adopting to parental habits, right? That's how you grew up. That's what you do. It is part of our family culture, and there you go. Sometimes people say, I had a lady in an audience one time, and she was very, very upset with me. She said, I refuse to accept your ideas because obesity is a genetic problem. My grandfather was obese, my grandmother was obese, my father was obese, my mother was obese, I'm obese, my husband is obese, my children are obese. It runs in the family, it's genetics, there's nothing I can do about it. I mean, she was really eager to, she was ready to chop my head off. And I said, do you mind if I ask you a question? We can discuss that maybe after the meeting. I didn't want to embarrass her, right? You tell me now. Okay. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. Do you happen to have a dog at home? Yes. And I said, is a dog overweight? Yes. Is that genetics? You get the idea? You see, it's not just the genes that we pass on from one generation to the next, but also the cooking styles and the recipes. It's part of our family, right? It's part of our culture. You know, the soul food people eat differently than maybe the German people. You know, we like our sauerkraut and some of these kind of things. So it's part of the family culture, right? Yes.
New age technology, mental conception, these smartphones, they're very intelligent. They take data off of what you choose to think about from your own mind and choose for advertisement. If you don't believe me, go through your Facebook, and then it'll be something like, man, I was just thinking about this yesterday. And it'll be the advertisement of something that you like the most, same food products and so on and so forth.
And with these sophisticated technologies, we can actually separate out the different styles that people have and then market to that particular style to make it more attractive, to hook them into it, right? Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
For all the reasons given, it's true, but I don't believe the responsibility is from other people. It's individual choice. That's my opinion. Because those supermarkets, they are selling their products.
I understand.
They are selling their products, and they don't put a knife on anybody's throat to use it. It comes individually, the choice you make, whether you buy it or not.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, now let me counteract this argument. I think you have a good point, but let me counteract this. If you believe, because of your environment, what you have been taught, that obesity runs as a genetic thing, then you feel you have no choice. You have to understand. You have to have first understanding that you are a free moral agent, but you have to have enough information to help you to understand this, right? Otherwise, you are stuck by the environmental factors that cause you to think that you are powerless, right? Yeah, so I think we're on the same page, right? Anybody else?
Yes, mine is to add to what the gentleman said. You have your phone, you can do your shopping sitting at one place, you don't move, you can buy everything, you can pay everything, and you are at one place. So for 1 week, you can be in your house without moving out to do anything. But you can buy and shop and do everything on your phone.
Right, yeah. It's a very seductive environment that makes it easy to choose the wrong foods, and you're not really able to make the choice at that moment. You don't see any nutrition label on the product that you see advertised on your phone there, right? It looks good, yeah, that'd be great. And you're under some stress, and you choose now foods that give you relief of stress. It's called comfort foods, right? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's big time. Okay, I think we're having a good discussion here. So we talked about upbringing, right? I mean, the whole idea of letting go of breastfeeding a baby is a very dangerous thing because you're now introducing foods too early. And again, you are now introducing foods that are usually high in sugar because they have to meet the approval of the mother whose taste buds have already been changed and abused by years and years and years of eating these high sugary foods. So you give the child now foods that are good according to your liking, but not necessarily for the child. So we have milk that we feed the baby, right? Or formula. Well, these milk products, they are very rich in calories and in certain substances that let the baby calf grow as rapidly as possible. This was not designed for human beings, because if you feed these products that are causing vast and accelerated growth in the baby calf, will do the same thing for your baby. And you know, you begin to realize, oh, the baby's growing very well. Looks like a hamster. Angelic, you know, and everybody comes up, oh, she's so cute. And you have just put her on the wrong. And listen, you create billions of extra fat cells in that little baby, and these fat cells will be there for the rest of her or his life. And these little fat cells, they are going to call out like vacuum cleaners. Give me more calories, because the fat cells want to be fed. And you started the excess number of fat cells in the baby by not using what I consider to be the ideal way of raising a baby, if possible, with breastfeeding for the first year. I always tell people, breast is best. I'm talking about breast milk, right? Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure. I don't want to get a call from the pastor here. Yes. Yes.
Question. Animals like cows are fed antibiotics and hormones.
Yes.
Okay, we know that the antibiotic get into this into
Yes.
the system, gets into breast milk. What about the hormones, and how does it affect our children?
Well, hormones can affect many, many aspects of a child. It can affect, especially as they get to the age of 8, 9, 10 years of age, in developing puberty very early. When you come to certain cultures where people eat differently, the puberty begins at about 16 or 17 years. That's what it was in our society about 200 years ago. Now you have a baby, you have a child, it's a baby really, that's 9, 10 years of age, already begins to menstruate. Like, imagine the power, the pressure on that baby. He is now emotionally wired towards social contact and sexual feelings, and all these things begin to awaken at the age of 8, 9, 10 years of age. And then you wonder why you have so many teenage pregnancies and so on, right? I mean, and it's, again, diet plays a role here, and again, obesity plays a role, because the more overweight you have, the earlier you usually have the puberty. Okay? Okay, very good point, yes.
Right. Our question here is, who is responsible? To me, actually, government is like 95% responsible, because they are financing these farmers to produce extra food. But, okay, in Sweden, all right, there is a law. When a child is born from the hospital, in Norway rather, they start to teach that child how to control food. You don't even do breastfeeding over there. So from there, you see almost everybody over there slim. You don't see people there obese, okay? And the next thing is like the country I'm from, Africa. We are also responsible. If you see a slim man in Africa, sometimes they will say you are cheap. But if you see an obese man,
yeah,
right, he will say, well, this guy is enjoying, he has money. So you can also blame government for that, you blame yourself.
That's right.
You see?
Very good point. I totally agree. When I grew up in Germany after World War II, we didn't have much to eat. We saw a big man with a big cigar. Oh, he is one of the leaders of the town. He's affluent. He can live the good life, right? And you associate width, size with success. And you want to be successful. You don't want to be scrawny like I am, right? Yeah, these are all contributing factors. Anybody else? We have a good discussion here. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I'm not so sure about that, because society projects, especially for women, you have to look like a pencil. You remember Twiggy? Yes. Yeah, Twiggy. I mean, she had no shape. Skinny. You know, like a pencil. And that's what we present, these models that are modeling clothes. You know, women, you're supposed to look like this. Folks, it puts a lot of pressure on people.
Not in my culture, doctor.
What is your culture?
I'm Jamaican.
You're
and
Jamaican.
You have to be round and fat.
Oh.
Not skinny and twiggy, no. Jamaican men love meat on their women, okay? When they're fat and nice and round, that's when they're healthy to them. That's what I'm saying. Culture.
Okay. So in that culture, sexual desire is aroused by a woman that has some meat on her bones, you say, right? Okay, all right. Anybody else?
Yeah, sometimes.
Just a moment.
Sometimes economic factor really affects the choice of food. There are a lot of people who do not have, well, maybe lack of education or knowledge per se, who have limited resources, and they have to feed the children or the family with the much they have. And what they know is to go to maybe the dollar store or go to the cheap store.
I understand.
And buy what they can afford to buy with the money they have to feed the family.
Right, I understand.
So the economic factor plays a huge role.
I understand. Very good point. You talk about deserts, right? You have food deserts here in Philadelphia? Yeah, you do, don't you? It's hard to find fresh produce in some of the areas, right? You find all the junk food available on the shelves, and they're $1, 99-cent stores, right? Yeah, I understand. Yeah, again, availability that has to do with economics, right? And we get the idea that if you want to live a healthy life, you have to eat healthy food, and that's too expensive. Actually, it's not, but that's the impression that we have, right? Okay, we're making some good progress here. Yes, the lady there.
Yes, I wanted to say, when I was growing up, we used to eat off the ground, plant and eat. And what little else we get from the store, we used to eat codfish, dried codfish.
Yes.
Or red herring, a fish that is
I understand.
smoked. And the people were healthy. Everybody was healthy. But then a life step up, the people start having Sunday meat, special meat on Sundays.
Yes.
They start out with chicken. First they start out with chicken back.
Right.
And we used to go and get the chicken back in the Sunday. Only on Sundays.
Yes.
Sunday dinner.
Okay. So, yes?
And then it started to spread after chicken backs. Then the chicken thighs and all of that, and the lamb and the beef and all of that start stepping up. And then you see people getting sick. You see people getting weak. And before it was only the older people that was dying.
Yes.
But then everybody started getting high blood pressure, diabetes, all these things.
Yeah, I understand. We covered it very well. You made a very, very good point. Again, we're talking about environment changes that took place in the society, right?
Yes.
Food availability.
Yes.
Okay, here's the next question. Why do people eat? Just a moment. We need a mic here, sir. Why do people eat?
They're supposed to eat to live.
They eat to live? No.
They're supposed to.
No, they don't eat to live.
They're supposed to, I think.
Oh, yes, supposed to. Yeah, you're right. Okay. People eat for many, many reasons. What's one reason? Hunger, right? How about the idea that we eat because the time says it's time to eat? It's 12 o'clock, it's time to eat, right? It's 3 o'clock, that's when I have my snack. It's time to have a snack. It's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, it's time to have supper. Not because you're hungry, but it's a habit pattern that has been built into our system. Yes?
Yes, I just wanted to say that
Just
a
a
lot of
moment.
people eat because of boredom. Out of boredom.
No, just a
They
moment.
eat out
Just
a lot of people eat out of boredom.
Close to.
Number one. And also stress is a huge factor in why people overeat. Anxiety and stress.
Okay, that's good.
Especially among your poor communities.
Okay, fine. So you give two reasons why people eat. Number one, you said? Boredom. Oh, it's something nice to do, isn't it? Yeah. I'm sometimes, I can work till 9, 10 o'clock, and then my wife comes to my office. I have a home office, and she says, honey, don't you think it's time to go to bed? I'm looking for you. Because I'm so involved in my work that I enjoy it so much, I am not thinking about food or anything like this. Take good care, bye-bye. Right? So boredom, if you don't have boredom, maybe the temptation is not as big to eat, right? Okay, so boredom was one. The other one was? Stress. Stress. Yeah, stress. Madam, we need to have a mic.
I find most people eat out of stress and anxiety often,
very good.
especially in your inner cities.
Very good.
And I've been a victim of that at times.
Very good.
And I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I eating? I'm not even hungry, but I'm eating.
Correct.
And
okay.
and it is stress and
I
anxiety
understand.
that brings that
I understand.
on.
We need to move on. Okay, what about you have this impression, I'm hungry. You know, when you have the impression, the feeling, I'm hungry, and it's not time to eat, you know, oftentimes what the body is telling you, I am thirsty. And the thirst kind of clue is being interpreted as being, I'm hungry. And so you reach out for the Danish pastry, you're reaching out for the pizza that you can shove into a toaster. You know, that's what we do. Stress, misunderstanding the cues of the body. Many times when you feel like, I should eat something right now, just drink half a glass of water and you're going to be okay. Yeah. Why do we eat?
Exactly. Thank you. All in one word. The human anatomy, the body, the brain gives off receptors from the pineal gland. It's called dopamine. You know, a lot of people out there in the world get caught up using drugs because they're so addicted to this dopamine. Right. We can control ourselves. You said something about your wife, honey, why are you not coming to your bed? Because she's looking for affection. She was going through withdrawal. Like, I need you to come love on me because I don't want to feel this way. But people in the world is so corrupt these days that you can't trust nobody. So if I got money is what they say I'm supposed to have, I can control my own dopamine. So people eat food, smoke cigarettes. It's not going to hurt me back. But you're saying one of the hurtbacks is the obesity. I think people are just addicted.
What we're talking about here is that many of these prepared, engineered, processed foods, they have received a certain amount of sugar or salt or fat in them, and that creates an addictive process in that it hits the pleasure center of the brain. When it hits the pleasure center of the brain, you have no choice but to eat, 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 eat. So that's what you're talking about. So it's another factor. Why do people eat? Pleasure. Okay, yes?
Another reason is loneliness and isolation. People don't have other people around regularly to take them out, to go out with, take a walk with, to have conversations, play board games or whatever. Then they tend to eat at home to console themselves and help them to feel, give them some comfort.
Yes. Okay, can we increase the volume of this wandering mic here, please? Okay, that was a very important concept that you just shared with us. You talked about loneliness, emotions. Most people, or I shouldn't say most people, but emotions becomes a major driver for looking for food. I'll give you an example. She was really upset. I mean, she couldn't contain herself anymore. She says, why did he do this to me? He is in Hawaii, I'm in Canada, it's winter time. He is bathing in the sunshine there of Hawaii, and I am here. He is at a dental convention, and I am here freezing myself crazy. It's 11 o'clock at night. She's upset. She's by herself. Why didn't he take me along? You see the emotions? And she disrobes in front of the mirror, and all of a sudden, she's absolutely shocked. I mean, it's a naked truth. She didn't realize she had all these special bulges, but there she's facing it, and she gets even more upset. And what does she do next? She goes downstairs. What's downstairs? A refrigerator. What does she take out? Potatoes? Oh, ice cream. Ice cream? Okay, anything that is comfort food because she has to soothe her emotions. She's angry at her husband. Why didn't he tell me? Well, so emotions cause us to choose foods that are usually not in our best interest, right? Okay. Anything else? Yes?
Greed has a lot to do with it, too.
Again?
Greed.
Can you please take the mic close?
Greed.
Tell me what you mean by greed.
When people see food, they eat food.
Oh, this is the seafood diet, right? You see it, you eat it. I see. Again, you know, it meets a need, an emotional need there, right? Well, you begin to realize that obesity is a very complex issue, isn't it? And so we need to make sure that we shed our judgmental attitudes as perhaps not being overweight in looking and scanning these obese people, and they sense that you are looking down at them. They have radar vision for these things. They're very sensitive people because they have been put down because of their extra weight. We need to be loving, caring people. No, just a minute.
The world does that. That's what I mean about technology. The world says, oh, if you don't look like a Kim Kardashian, you're not beautiful. I was talking to one of my sisters on Instagram. She's like, oh, I got flaws. I said, who told you that? I said, if you don't worry about what the world is saying, you perfect as just being yourself. She was like, thank you, but I got to go to work. I love y'all.
Well, he made his closing statement very well.
Thank you.
So you begin to realize that, especially as health professionals, as nurses, as doctors, as dentists, as people in general, we need to be very, very sensitive that we do not project, without perhaps intention, our impression about another person, which becomes to be very judgmental, because the person is not exclusively responsible for being obese. Are we clear on that one issue? Yes. No, but just a minute, This is being recorded. Please use the mic and close to your mouth.
Okay, I was saying on his point about Kim, like, how would I be? I think it's an individual thing with his sister, because for me, I have natural curves. I'm not scared or like I'm gonna be jealous of a woman who had to make her body. You understand? I've got mine naturally. It looks better. Trust me.
Yeah, nature knows best. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So I think we have sort of begun to understand. That's why I wanted to have a little bit of a discussion here to get some of the emotions out and your impressions of what is related to obesity, and to free you from those myths that are out there. You know, I'm supposed to be this way. I'm supposed to. No. You have to recognize who you are, where you come from, what are the factors that have contributed to this, and then you have to begin to see, what can I do to make a choice like you suggested earlier, and then take responsibility in an adversive environment and to ride it out and to be a winner. Right? Okay. Now, let's get into the lecture. Nobody has talked about that. We no longer exercise. We no longer get the burning of energy. Hello? We're all couch potatoes, more or less, right? And again, it's more prominent in some cultural communities than in others, right? So exercise, look, we have phased out exercise pretty much, although there are some exercise enthusiasts, I mean, they do this every day. But the large majority of people, I think, is not really on an exercise program where they go into the gym 3 times a week. And again, is it economically possible? You know, there are all kinds of questions, again, that could be raised, right? But you can all walk. And you can all walk. And you say, well, it rains here in Philadelphia all the time. Well, never mind. Wear some rain clothes. Go to a mall. Walk in the mall. You can do this. You have to be ingenious about this. You are responsible in making the best of what you can do. Right? So now look at this. What do you see there? What do you see? What do you see? Do you get it? They're riding the elevator to get to the exercise program. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me give you that. That's even better. Watch this one here, okay? Ready? Take a close look. What do you see there? An island. Yeah, what are you doing with the car? You cover the distance, right? You don't walk anymore. You have to drive the car. And so we already talked about, could advertising affect our food choices? And the answer is yes. Please take a look. Kellogg is spending $40 million just on one brand to advertise Frosted Flakes. $40 million. And then you look at the dairy industry, they're spending $200 million to say you have to have milk 3 times a day, 3 glasses, so that you don't get osteoporosis, you have strong bones, you don't fall apart. Folks, the countries that have the most dairy have the most osteoporosis. This is advertising. $200 million spent to lead you to believe that you have to drink 3 glasses of milk so you get your calcium. The calcium is everywhere. You don't have to worry about the milk as such. Okay? And then you look at McDonald's. McDonald's spends, what is it now there, $800 million in promoting their book, their fare, right? Availability, you know. And then you have the McDonald's recreational center there, and the kids love to go there on the swing and all these kind of things. They're doing this now in different countries around the world, and the kids just love to go to McDonald's. As a matter of fact, I found one of the countries where McDonald's is considered to be one of the upscale restaurants where the kids also can have some recreation activities. And when they have birthdays, we go to McDonald's. Well, it might be different in our society here, but this is how it's being marketed. And take a look. So they spent $800 million on marketing just one company, fast food, and then you have the National Cancer Institute. They promote fruits and vegetables, and it's not even $1 million. Do you see that? You can't even see it there. So what is driving the choice of people? Advertising, right? The media. So here you see, we have experienced in the 1970s, we said that was the year when things turned around. Remember we talked about the obesity began to really creep up then? What happened? Fast foods became into existence, and they were favored very quickly by all sorts of society. Everybody seems to love these McDonald's things. Take a look. We have gone from $3 billion in sales in 1972 to over $200 billion now worldwide. And what we do, we consider French fries to be vegetables. Folks, there's nothing about French fries that is a vegetable. When you have French fries, that is fat held together by a little bit of potato starch. That's all it is. So when you eat French fries, don't tell me, well, I have French fries 3 times a day. I eat my vegetables 3 times a day. You have tomato ketchup. Oh, I have my tomatoes 3 times a day. I put it on my French fries. This is very healthy food. I have vegetables, and I have now the tomatoes too. Folks, we're being misled. We need to go to the original food the way it was created and made. And so we talked about that already, that the industry has learned from analyzing how to prepare a food product so it becomes addictive. They have learned how to do this, and they know exactly how much sugar to put into a certain product so that you have a bliss point experience. They know exactly how much salt to put into the Pringles so that you cannot resist. They know exactly what to do. They've studied this over and over again. As a matter of fact, they have had major studies that just checked out one thing. How and under what pressure should the Pringle be fractured by the teeth? You put a Pringle in your mouth, and you don't just want this to melt and fall apart. No, it has to have a certain pressure from your dentition, from your jaws. And then you hear the little crackling, and It's very sophisticated in tricking us. And then when it comes to fat, fat is absolutely a winner when it comes to increasing flavor to a product. It slips down very easily. And the companies know the more fat you put into it to a certain extent, the more you will want to eat this. When you have potato chips are 63% fat. Potatoes are 3% fat. God somehow knew how to package food, but the industry knows how to package it in order to sell their product. And so what we see now is that the industry, the processing food industry, is making a fortune by slowly poisoning an unwitting population. They're not aware of it. It just tastes good. It's fine. That's why the people that are beginning to look for, they educate themselves, or they have a higher level of education, they begin to see these things more readily than people that are sort of marginally out there doing their best they can, right? And so we need to understand when it comes to obesity, if you have more calories coming in than going out, what happens to the calories that are coming in excess? They're being stored. You have more calories coming in than going out. What happens to the difference? Where do you store it? Oh, yeah, you store it in the central bank right here, right? Central bank. And after a while, the central bank is overflowing with money, calories coming in. And now the central bank has to establish branch offices all over the body. And that's what we do. And then you get so scared. You look in the mirror one time, and you see all these branch offices. And you say, oh, my goodness, I'm going to do something about this. And what do? You go to the store, and you look for what's the latest recommendation. How to lose 17 pounds in 21 days, right? And you buy it. Oh, this is it. And you do it, and you do it faithfully. It's the grapefruit diet. You eat grapefruits and grapefruits and grapefruits and grapefruits, and you're losing weight, right? So you'll have lost 70 pounds. What do you do then? You go back to your original diet, right? And what happens again? You have to go to where your clothes are, and you said, well, I'm not going to wear these clothes anymore because this is only for fat people. So you now go to this side here. I've lost 70 pounds. This is what I'm going to wear now. And all of a sudden, you have to go back to the other side again, right? You go up and down and up and down and up and down. And then you see a new diet called the Mayo diet, the Mayo grape diet. Now you eat grapes and grapes and grapes and grapes, and you're losing 15 pounds in 30 days. Wow, that thing is working. And you're so happy. And what happens then? You go back to your original diet, and you go up and down and up and down. And after a while, you become a psychological wreck. And you say to yourself, there's something wrong with me. And you think, maybe I should see a psychologist or someone, right? No. You have fallen into the trap of quick answers to a long-term problem. Weight doesn't come on just like that. Maybe sometimes after pregnancy, there's a tendency to put on some extra weight quickly. But in general, you usually, especially men, they gain 1 pound to 2 pounds a year from the time that we're in college, when they were playing football or soccer or something like this. Okay, do you see what's happening? So you're 50 years of age, now you're out of college for 30 years, you've gained 30 to 40 pounds. That's the average. So it's a creeping thing that is coming on to us because it's culturally related. We are less exercising, but big time, we have now foods that are concentrated in calories. I'll talk about that in just a few minutes. So we have to be aware that there's an energy balance. And every time you have some extra calories that didn't get burned off with exercise and activity, you store them. And once you have stored 3,500 calories, you have put on 1 pound of fat on your body. Okay? So how many calories does it take to put on 1 pound of fat? 3,500 calories. Remember that, right? So 3,500 calories. So now let's go to the next point here. And so you become now very, very concerned. You recognize that you're overweight, and you say, I got to do something about it. And what do people tell you to do? Eat less, right? In Germany, we say, ess die Hälfte. That means only eat half as much as you used to eat, and then you'll be okay. Oh, no. It doesn't work. So, but that's what we tell people, right? And so we have smaller serving sizes. We count calories. We're trying to be on these semi-starvation diets, and you enjoy food, and all of a sudden, have to push away from the table. That's the most important exercise you can ever do. Push away from the table. And so you have hunger pangs. And after it's for the birds. No, it's a terrible life. I'd rather be a little bit pleasantly plump, right? It doesn't work. So if this doesn't work, you try to eat less because it has nothing to do with the amount of food that you eat. It only has to do with the number of calories that are in the food. You can eat 5 pounds of lettuce. Will you gain weight? No. There are no calories there unless you put the blue cheese dressing on top, right? So, you know, so it's not a matter of eating less. Some people say, okay, eating less is not the answer. Then you say, what? Then people say, you got to exercise more. Haven't you seen on television these programs there? What do they call these programs? The Big Loser, or what is it? Yeah. It's there. And you don't realize, and these people are losing weight. And you say, wow, they don't tell you that they exercise 16 hours a day because they're on television, they want to look good, right? You don't have 16 hours to exercise, right? You have a few more things to do, right? So exercise more. That's the recommendation that comes to you. Exercise more. Well, I believe in exercise, but it's not the way to lose weight. Exercise is to be in good health. Don't get into an exercise program to lose weight. It doesn't work. Let me tell you a story. But by the way, what is our timetable here? I mean, we kind of started late. How do we fit into the food program?
11:30, so 11:30, 11:40, that's right.
No, it's 11:30 now.
That is 6 minutes past. No, we just want
I have an hour and a half. Yeah. Okay, we started.
Yeah, we could be done.
I was here to start at 10 o'clock. You folks began to dribble in at 11:15.
Yeah.
So we started late.
Yeah.
So what shall we do?
We give you half an hour. Go ahead, half an hour.
Why don't you talk to the folks in the kitchen, maybe to slow down a little bit, and I'll try to make it a bit shorter.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay? Is that a good way to? We want to be win, 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 right? All right. Okay. So these two ladies come to me, to my office at the university, and they say, Dr. Dia, we'd like to lose some weight. You know, these ladies are 65, 70 years of age, and I said, do you like to change your diet? No, we don't want to change the diet. So what do you want to do? We want to exercise. Give us an exercise program so we can burn these calories off. I said, okay, because I know that for every mile that you walk, you burn 100 calories. So now, listen to this. If you want to lose 1 pound of weight, it says how many calories you have to burn? 3,500. How many miles do you have to walk for 3,500 if 1 mile is 100 calories? 35. You have to walk a lot of miles. So I give them a prescription, and I said, you want to lose 25 pounds, and here's the prescription, because I figure out, I want you to walk from the medical center to, there's a special store there, Stater Brothers, and that's about 1.1 mile. And then you go back and forth one time, one round, that's 2.2 miles. Okay, and I said, I want you to do this 7 days a week. I said 6 times a week is okay. The two ladies, they're so happy that the doctor gave them some good counsel, and they go back home, and after 3 months, they come back to me and say, Doctor, it doesn't work. We have gained weight. I said, how did you gain weight? Have you walked every day? No. We just walked 5 days a week. I said, oh, that's okay. You are under grace. I told you 6 times, but that's okay. 5 times is okay. And you walk every day from the medical center to this turnaround place, the Stater Brothers place. Say, yes, sir. And I asked the other lady, are you doing this together? Yes, sir. So I'm making sure that they are both saying the truth, right? Just to make sure. I said, Doctor, we have done this for 3 months, 5 times a week, and we have gained weight. I said, how could this be? So I asked them again, so you're starting at the medical center, and then you go and you walk to the Stater Brother big store there, and what do you do there? Oh, we go inside. And what do you do there? Oh, doctor, we have just walked all this way. We have been so good. We honor ourselves with a Krispy Kreme donut. And I said, Do you know how many calories a Krispy Kreme donut is? That's 400 calories. You have just walked 2.2 miles. That's 220 calories you have burned, 220 calories. But you have eaten 400 calories with a donut. So every day you walk to this place and you have a Krispy Kreme, you gain 200 calories. Do you see what happens? So if you want to, just to give you some idea, if you want to have a Super Coke and you want to have some fries and a Big Mac, you have to walk for 7 hours to walk it off. Folks, to burn calories, to lose weight through exercise is not a very practical way to do it. We want you to walk because you're in good health. It's good for your brain, it's good for your muscles, it's good for everything. But it's not a good way to lose weight. That's a secondary small benefit, but that should not be the primary reason. So, what do we recommend? So we are not saying cut away from food. We don't say exercise more to burn calories. We are telling people eat more whole foods. What is a whole food? What's a whole food? Give me a name of a food. Potatoes are a whole food. Are potato chips a whole food? No. Okay, so then you have, what else can we use? Okay, you have Wonder Bread. Is Wonder, no. Wonder Bread. Wonder Bread builds your body in 22 different ways, right? It has all these ingredients there, right? Wrong. It's not the way to go. That's a prepared, engineered food with some vitamins added back in to make it a bit less, a little bit more nutritious somewhat. Okay, so give me some other idea. What's a whole food? Is a mango a whole food? Yes. Is mango juice a whole food? No. It's processed, right?
What if you juice the mango yourself?
If you do what?
It's okay.
Would you please give her the mic?
What if you juice the mango? You take the flesh part of the mango, you juice it, and you drink it. I do that. I know.
Is it processed? No. Yes. It's processed by the mixer. You chew less now because you just gulp it down, and you have a tendency to overdo it. Are you with me? Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, I'm just being a little technical here. You can have it, it's fine. But be aware that when you don't have to chew it as much, it's easier to overdo something, okay? So that's the point. All right. Give me another example of a whole food. Are lentils a whole food? Yes. Okay. When you have lentil soup in the can, is that a... Well, it's sort of. But you see, again, they added a lot of salt. So the manufacturing, the processing, putting it in a can usually adds things that perhaps are not in our best interest. Okay, give me another example. Oatmeal, yeah, good. How about these cereals, the honeycombs? Processed, right? You know, I gave a presentation in Battle Creek, Michigan, and that's the headquarters of the Kellogg company, right? And I was much younger then, so I wasn't quite as wise. So I'm giving a lecture there, and it's in Battle Creek where the Kellogg Corporation is headquartered. And I tell the people, be careful about these refined products such as, and I use one of these brand names of Fruit Loops, right? And I said, this is 52% sugar, folks. It's not great. It's a candy. And a man in the back of the auditorium stands up, a dignified man, suit on, tie, very dignified. I know I'm in trouble. He said, sir, I protest. I'm the vice president of marketing for the Kellogg Corporation. It is not 52% sugar. It's only 48% sugar. It's funny, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So I think you got the idea. What we want you to do is begin to eat more whole foods such as fruits, vegetables, with not all the big, rich toppings on it, right? And then number 3, eat more whole grains. Give me some whole grains, a whole grain name. Oats, quinoa, brown rice, barley, wheat, Bob's Red Mill 7-grain cereal. They're minimally processed. They're excellent. You have 5-grain cereal, 7-grain cereal, 10-grain cereal. They're high in fiber. You want to get more fiber into your body. Americans get only 10 grams of fiber. We should have more 40 or 50 grams of fiber a day. It has a powerful effect on the biome. Those special little bacteria that are going to help us more and more now to understand how the immune system is being built and what it can do for you, especially when you're worried about a pandemic. You want to have a good, strong immune system, okay? So now, coming back to eating more whole foods, when you eat whole foods, you can eat all you want and you will not gain weight. True. 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 It's very difficult to gain weight on whole foods because the calorie density is very low. Because these whole foods are usually high in fiber, which gives you roughage, which fills you up. It doesn't have that many calories. And it also is usually rich in water. And again, it gives you bulk, it fills you up, but it doesn't have a lot of calories. So that's why I say kind of almost in a dictatorial fashion, you cannot gain weight regardless of how many whole foods you eat. It's a little, I'm making my point here. You know, sometimes you can also overdo it. Some people, if they eat, 5 pounds of brown rice, you can still, or you eat, But in general, as a principle, it's very difficult to gain weight when you eat, regardless of how much volume of food you eat. Okay.
One other thing, the wheat germ. I put wheat germ in my grits and stuff
that's
like
fine.
that.
That's fine.
Look, I'm seeing corn here. And in my country, we have the way of making corn food. We have kenke. We have other ways of making corn, the corn wheat. So let's say corn, sometimes we pick it and we grill it, and some we cook it, some we put it in a microwave and eat. Is it good enough?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, you have not processed it, really. It's whole food, right? Okay, now, so you can eat ad lib as much as you want as a general principle. Number 2, you can reduce your food bill. You know, when you buy potatoes versus potato chips, you save a lot of money. Potato chips are very expensive. How much do you pay for a tube of Pringles? $1.89. How do you know this?
Because I buy it.
Oh, you buy them. Oh. Caught. Okay. No, she just did this for educational purposes because she knew I was going to ask her. Okay. So whenever you have to think about this, when you eat whole foods, you save at least 30 to 45% in your food budget. You no longer have the Oreos, right? You no longer have the M&Ms. Are you with me? You no longer have the hamburgers. You no longer have these foods that are actually concentrated in calories, and also you pay quite a bit of money for them. Okay, and then furthermore, when you eat whole foods, it not only allows you to eat more, it helps you to save money, but also improves your health. Your diabetes will go down. Your blood pressure will come down. Your weight will melt off. 1 to 2 pounds a week, I can guarantee that to you, unless you have some, unless you have some thyroid problems. Okay, sometimes there's some health issues there. But in general, if you're fairly healthy, you lose 1 to 2 pounds a week by following this kind of a program. And just put in a bit of exercise, your 10,000 steps, that's about 1 hour a day. Anytime that you move around, it counts. Okay? So begin to walk a little bit more, do a little bit more of this. It's going to help you. So then if you want to be successful in weight management, number 1, eat more food, the proper food, and number 2, do some exercise because it's just the right thing to do to be in good health. So let's take a look at this slide here. You see what happens here in America from 1970? We have gained on the average about 500 pounds. The average person eats 500 calories more today than in 1970. Why? Because of concentrated foods, concentrated calories. Let me give you some examples of that here. So I want to give you 5 guidelines, and then we're going to close in 20 minutes. Would that work for you? Okay. So keep me to the time here. Number 1 principle, I give you 5 guidelines. Number 1, reduce empty calories. What's an empty calorie? Yeah, empty calories are processed foods that are usually very, very low and almost devoid of any nutritional value. Okay? Yeah, that's right. Donuts is a good example there, right? Yeah, it's just sugar and white flour. Sir?
What I usually tell people is avoid things. What I usually do is what I usually suggest to people is do not eat anything packaged, boxed, or in a bag.
Okay.
Because, you know,
okay.
And to eat it fresh.
Okay.
If it comes from nature, eat it.
It's good. It's very good. So remember, we talked about the idea that in the 1970s, things began to change in the American diet. We moved from eating foods to eating industrialized products that are heavily marketed, that are advertised, that are available, and they're very, very seductive in terms of their taste. See, we need to have a baptism of the taste buds because our taste perceptors have become accustomed to these rich tasting foods. And when you eat very simple food, you say, it's kind of flat. It is for 30 days. When you cut back on salt, it's flat. But in 30 days, you get used to it, and then somebody invites you over to their home, and they have the usual amount of salt. And you say, my goodness, they must have dropped the salt shaker in the soup today because your taste buds have changed. You begin to change. You will not miss the joys of eating just because you're moving towards whole foods. So we have talked about the amount of empty calories found in sugar. We are consuming about 35 teaspoons per person per day. We also talked about that most of these calories, about 1/3 of the sugar calories, comes from soft drinks, right? Then I also want to call your attention to the fact that, look at these are fruit juices. Folks, these fruit juices can have more sugar than you have in a Coke or in a soda pop. There you see it here. This is now 8 ounces. And you can see you have 31 grams of sugar in a cranberry juice. A Coca-Cola has 28 on an 8-ounce basis. So be careful with fruit juices. They have some value nutritionally, but they're very loaded with calories. That's why I said to you earlier, even if you process it yourself, you have a tendency to overdo it, right? Are you with me there? And then, look, this is 6 teaspoons of sugar in a donut. You have 15 teaspoons in a small piece of German chocolate cake. You have 25 teaspoons in a banana split. I tell my patients, I want you to eat a banana split every day. I said, I want you to take a banana, split it in half, and put some fruit inside. Right? Yeah, there you go. I mean, this is candy. Folks, this is not a food. I mean, this is not a cereal. And look at this. This is what we do, especially in people that are struggling with their budgets. I mean, because of unawareness, because of maybe different levels of education, or for whatever reason, you have 1 pound of grain. You have 1 pound of grain in these Fruit Loops, and I figured out the cost there. It was $11 for 1 pound of grain that is in that box of Fruit Loops because half of it is sugar, right? But you could have bought Quaker Oats. You could have bought a whole pound of Quaker Oats, and you would have only paid, I think, $1.90. You would have saved a lot of money. Whenever you buy processed foods, the company takes a certain portion of that money for their profit. That's business. So empty calories, cut back on empty calories. Sugar we talked about, we want to cut back on refined extracted oils. And let me tell you something. People come to me and say, but Dr. Deal, olive oil is good for you, isn't it? I said, no, there's no good oil when it comes to weight management because every oil, regardless of what it is 9 calories per gram. So if you have 1 gram of beef fat, 1 gram of beef fat has how many calories? 9. I just told you. 1 gram of corn oil has how many calories? 9. 1 gram of sunflower oil has how many calories? 9. 1 gram of grapeseed oil has how many calories? 9. 1 gram of olive oil has how many calories? You get the point? When it comes to weight management, there is no good oil for you to use because regardless of whether it's healthy or not, every gram of any kind of oil has how many calories? 9. And every gram of carbohydrates, like a starch in a potato, has 4 calories. Do you see? When you have a few grams of fat, it really increases the calorie load. So be careful about fatty foods. Oh, we'll learn that later on in the cooking class, okay? So now we have be careful with fats and oils. Remember, when we eat corn, you get your amount of fat that you need easily. But what we have done today industrially, we have extracted the oil from the corn, and it takes 14 ears of corn to get 1 tablespoon of corn oil. Do you see how easy it is to put some corn oil into some potato salad? Oh my goodness. It's easy to do, right? And you don't even realize the fat is there. It's there. Because we have extracted it from the design, from the original design, and now we can easily overdo it. You could have never eaten 1 tablespoon of corn oil in the form of the original form, like 15 ears of corn. Could you have eaten 15 ears of corn? No. Can you eat 1 tablespoon of oil that comes from 15 ears? Yes. So that's what the problem is. And then you put the corn oil into potatoes or into corn, and you make corn chips, and you have 1 little bag, and right there you have almost 1,500 calories. That's a ½ a pound of fat on your body. And you can eat this in 5 minutes. Would you agree? Sir, we need to have a mic.
How many calories a day do you think most people should consume?
A woman should probably have about 2,000 calories. 1,500 calories would be fine. It depends on how much you exercise. 1,500 would be fine for a woman. 2,000, 2,500 for a man.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Now, grams. Now, I always get confused with the grams. Now, how does that convert into calories?
Okay. Every gram of starch has 4 calories. Every gram of protein has 4 calories. Every gram of fat has 9 calories. Every gram of alcohol has 7 calories. That's how you see the concentration of calories is in alcohol and in fats of any kind.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now let's just take a look. You have this small little bag of corn chips, and you notice it has 90 grams of fat. And we should probably have no more than 30 to 40 grams for the whole day. Do you see how you easily can overdo it with these processed foods? 90 grams of fat in 1 small bag of corn chips. And on top of that, you have over 5,000 milligrams of salt, and you shouldn't have more than 3,000 somehow of 4 grams of salt for the whole day. You see, so you have a product here that's highly loaded with things that are harming your health, high in salt, high in fat, and no fiber. Well, I think I talked about that yesterday. Yeah, you got the story, right? I mean, you can eat 6 ounces of Pringles, which is 1,000 calories, or you can eat 64 ounces of potatoes. It's the same number of calories. That means you can eat 10 times more in weight when you eat it the way it came in the original form, in potatoes. Every time you eat engineered food, you concentrate the calories 10 times more. You see, on the basis of weight. And so, you know, we are beginning to realize more and more.
Excuse me. Can I ask a question? Now, with the kind of food we see here when you sell like the potato here, some are engineered potato. It's not original. It comes fresh, but the way they grow it, you know, like the fertilizer and all that. So how do we eat the original one? Because the mass production, you know, is the way they grow things these days, all those chemical and all that is still in those items. You know?
Well, if you're really concerned about these kind of finer points, these are technical points now, you can opt for some organic potatoes if you're concerned about that. You have less of these additives to it, okay, in the ground and so on. So now, take a look at this. You have, and again, I talked about that yesterday. You have just a very simple-looking, innocent-looking milkshake, right? That's 2,000 calories. It's a big one, right? Because a milkshake is basically fat and sugar. You read it right there. Sugar and fat. So you have to be careful with these kind of things. And so this is the first principle then, and that is reduce empty calories coming from sugar, fats, and alcohol. These are empty calories that don't give you the nutrients that you need. Principle number 2, reduce animal products. Why do you want to eat less animal products? Sir, why should we eat less fat? Why should we eat less animal products to lose weight? What are your thoughts?
Eating animals will provide you with more fat.
Oh, animal products are high in fat? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you have a sirloin steak. Is that fairly high in fat?
Yes.
Can you trim the fat off?
You can trim some, but you don't get all of it out. Though.
Okay, very good.
Because you use oil to fry it or whatever.
Well, sirloin steak, you can trim the fat off, but the fat is usually between the fiber cells. You cannot get at it. It's there.
Get it out.
Especially if you fry it on top of that, it's a high-fat food. It's a high-calorie food, right? So let's take a look at this here. Again, we have to recognize that half of the calories that we eat from fat comes from meat, poultry, fish, and dairy. Animal products provide half of the fat in our diet in America. Okay? So if you want to cut back on calories, if you want to lose weight, be careful with animal products because they're very high in calories because of the fat content, right? So I gave you an example yesterday. For instance, you have a sirloin steak. That sirloin steak is 75% of the calories in that steak comes from fat. Be careful with animal products. Then you look at cheese. And here you see again, 71% of the calories in cheese comes from fat. This is a high-calorie, high-fat food. Highly addictive, too. Okay? And you can see we are no longer consuming the amount of milk that the dairy industry would like us to consume. The milk consumption is on the skids. It's really very, very low because these milk substitutes have taken over. Soya milks and almond milk and also and all these kind of things have taken over. And so what do you think the dairy industry now does? It puts their product into cheese. Yeah. And Americans love cheese. I mean, people around the world love cheese. I mean, you cannot have a pizza without cheese, right? You can, but it's hard to find, right? There, you see, the cheese consumption has gone from 4 pounds per year per person now to we consume 40 pounds of cheese per person per year. So 10 times more cheese today than years ago. You have to be careful. Some people that are vegetarians, they say, well, we only eat soy cheese. Folks, it still is a high-fat food. If you want to lose weight, be careful, okay? You say, well, I eat these meat analogs, these phony bolognas, right? Be careful. Many of them are fairly high in fat because they're processed foods. They're building a bridge towards becoming more and more vegetarian-oriented. It has its purpose and its place, but be careful. If you want to lose weight, don't eat too many of those, okay? Now, I want to now take you to to a large population study where they compared people that live a very similar lifestyle, except they have different kinds of dietary patterns. These are a large group of people. They examined over close to 100,000 people in North America, and they all live a very similar lifestyle. They go to church regularly, they exercise to some extent, they don't smoke and so on. They have a very similar lifestyle. And then they've found that these people, however, have 5 different diets. Some of these people are vegetarians, some of these people are meat eaters, some of them are, they eat fish as vegetarians, and some of the vegetarians, they eat eggs and dairy. And what they found is that the people that are the pure plant food-oriented people, the pure vegetarians, sometimes called vegans, they usually, on the average, weigh 30 to 40 pounds less than the meat eaters in that group of people. So if you want to really begin to be successful in losing weight, move towards the green color that you see there, which means try to cut back on refined foods, cut back on animal products as much as you can. And when you do this, it's much easier to lose that 1 to 2 pounds a week. Are you with me there? Of course, you want to be a little careful with nuts. Nuts are very nutritious, so you want to eat 1 ounce a day, every day if you can. Almonds or walnuts and so on. But beware, don't eat large amounts because they're very high in calories. Okay? So if you want to lose weight, be moderate. I always tell people, you want to lose weight, eat nuts, but buy them in the shell. And you only have They're telling me that the battery is running out to give me a sign that I only have 3 minutes left. Okay. So we have now talked about 2 principles. Number 1, stay away from empty, refined calories. Number 2, try to be careful with animal products, from cheese to meat to vegetarian meats. They're all fairly high in fat. And be also careful in juicing, because here you see, if you really... well, this is not juicing. This is just taking apple juice, which is totally refined because you don't have the fiber in it anymore. And you can see you have to eat 3 apples. That's the same number of calories as you have in 1 half glass of apple juice. Calories, because you removed the fiber. And now you can overdo it very easily. It's okay. Okay, thank you. Then be also careful what you put on your bread. Okay? I don't know why people put butter and margarine on their bread. I never do this. I haven't done this for 40 years. It's just a habit. I mean, why do people put, I mean, think about this. You buy this Wonder Bread, and it doesn't have any shape. So you have to put it into a toaster first to stabilize it. Now it's dry and hard, so now you put butter or margarine in it to soften it again, right? And then you put on top of that the peanut butter, which is 75% fat. And then you put, because it sticks to your teeth and to your gum, now you put some jam on top of that, and you create a caloric bomb. Do you see what we do? You could have done that very easily. You could have bought some Ezekiel bread, some of these good breads, and you can toast it, and then you put some mashed bananas on top. Yeah. Yeah. And you say, well, I don't really like the looks of bananas. Well, put a pineapple ring on top of it and make it fancy. And put a cherry in the middle of the whole of it. You know, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to have these processed foods. We need to think differently. It sounds crazy, but it's not. We are the only normal ones. Yeah. Potatoes, I put on potatoes, lentil soup from yesterday. Perfect. Because potatoes have no taste, really. Yeah, you just open it up, and you put some, this is split potatoes. No, you don't want this on. And put the margarine on and the cheese and and the bacon and all this. No, you don't need this. You just put yesterday's lentil soup. Lentil soup, when you make a nice lentil soup, the next day it tastes even better. Okay, so this is principle number 2. Now I want to give you principle number 3. Eat more whole foods, simply prepared. Don't add all the fats and the sugars to it. Just enjoy it. If you need a dressing, you can go look at my cookbook. It has dressings in it for your salad, or you can just begin to use some lemon juice sometimes. It can be wonderful. Find some dressing that are low in calories, they're low in fat, and low in salt, and you will find something that you will like after a while. So these are the kind of foods that we recommend. If you want to lose weight, eat more fruits, eat more whole grains, eat more vegetables, eat more legumes. Beans are excellent. And just have some nuts or some avocado once in a while, okay? And so here now are some of the whole foods that we recommend. Fruits are very low in, Fruits are very low in calories. You see, it's only 1 to 5%. Whole grains are very low in calories. Legumes are very low in calories. Vegetables are very low in calories. Nuts, be a little careful. They're high in calories. Well, I give you a few more examples here. What we do. Take a look at this one here. This is, these Newtons? Those little squares? Yeah. They even says fat-free. But please note, it's 60 calories, right? One little square. And look at this. You could have eaten a fourth of a cantaloupe. Which fills you up more? The little square or the cantaloupe? I'll give you another example. You have a slice of apple pie. You want to have them once in a while, but not too often, right? So when you have an apple pie that you made yourself, invite all your friends to come and help you eat it. Then you won't overdo it. You have one slice. Look, how many calories does it have? 480 calories. And then you put the ice cream on top, right? And the whipped cream. And you got 600 calories there. I mean, think about this. You could have eaten 5, 6, 7, 8 apples. God knew how to package food. We don't. Or sometimes I have some medical public health conventions to attend to, and people have happy hour, and they take a little bit of vodka there. It's a small little drink and some mixed nuts. It's 740 calories. Look at this. They could have eaten 5 pounds of fresh fruit and 2 bread rolls to boot. Do you see what I'm talking about? I'm talking about concentrated calories. That alcohol is concentrated calories. Fruits is not concentrated calories. You can eat all you want, and you cannot overeat calorically. Look at my grandson. See? Yeah. He said, wow, I can eat all these food? Yeah. And I lose weight? Yes, of course. Because low in calories. Look what he has. Yeah. You say, well, no more hamburgers? Well, no, you can have a hamburger, but just make it a portobello mushroom burger, right? Look, without the meat. And instead of having 1,000 calories, no, you have only 250 calories. Just become more choice-oriented. Okay? Just a moment. Now, this is the magic of good weight management. When you have no fiber in your food, you see the left stomach there? You see the stomach on the left side? These are all calories. You need to eat these calories to fill you up, and then there is a special sensor inside the stomach lining of the wall. And when you are full, it sends a message to the brain, I am full, the appetite goes down. But you need a lot of calories to fill the stomach and to touch that sensor to send the message to the brain. However, when you have a food on the right-hand side, which has a lot of fiber, a lot of roughage, now you fill that stomach up very, very quickly, and it touches the sensor, and you have hardly eaten very, very many calories. It's largely roughness, it's largely fiber. The fiber sends a message up there, I'm full. Very few calories, but I'm full because of the fiber which fills me up. So fiber is very magical, especially in the area of diabetes management. And here's what I want to have you go home with. Think about this. The optimal diet will have at least 35 to 50 grams of fiber in it. Where do you find fiber? Rolled oats, pears, fruits, Ezekiel bread, whole wheat pasta, beans, peas. They're all loaded with fiber. Fiber is found there's no fiber in animal products. It's zero. Cheese, zero. Sirloin steak, zero. You're looking at these meat substitutes, zero. Sausages, zero. We are in a fiber-depleted state. Do you know, have you heard of something called constipation? I mean, people, they're full of anxiety, especially older people, because they have a very low fiber diet. And they just, well, try again. They sit there for hours. They read the Reader's Digest from beginning to end. And they produce maybe one bowel movement a week. And they feel, yeah, I did it. I go one this week, right? Look, folks, if you have fiber in the diet and you drink your water, you have a bowel movement every day. It's easy. You don't sit there with anxiety and stressing and it's just shh. So what I want you to do, I want you to enjoy some magnificent, large bowel movements. That's the best indication that you are getting enough fiber in your diet, you're eating the right foods, and you're drinking a lot of water. When the milling industry in the 1880s began to turn whole wheat kernels into white flour to extend its shelf life, they didn't only lose many of the nutrients, such as vitamins and minerals, but they also lost 90% of the dietary fiber. And here is a story of the magic of fiber. To start with, dietary fiber only comes from plants, from all plants. Meat, dairy, and eggs have no fiber. Actually, dietary fiber is a very complex entity. Until just a few years ago, fiber, then thought of as roughage or bark, was considered a substance exclusively found in the outer layers of grains of plants. You know, wheat bran would fit that model, wouldn't it? We now know that fiber actually consists of a large number of different substances. And there is a product being advertised on television for like Metamucil. This is fiber for you. Folks, you don't need this kind of a fiber. You need a multiplicity of fibers that are only found in plant foods. It's just not one fiber. There are many different kinds of fibers, and they also have a very powerful effect on the immune system. So what I want to leave you with is this. You can eat more food that is whole food because it has fiber that is causing you to be feeling full and satisfied, and you will be a happy person. You will have good bowel movements. You will lose 1 to 2 pounds a week. You have not deprived yourself by being on a semi-starvation diet. You'll be a happy trooper. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you for being here this morning. I don't know about you, but I have gained a lot. I appreciate Dr. Dio being here and sharing with us. Did you learn a lot of things? Awesome. Amen. So now is a time that we take and practice those things, okay? And so that if he happened to come back and visit us in some time in the future, he'll see that we have practiced the things that we have learned, okay? But Dr. Dio, we want to thank you for being here with us this weekend. We're going to have prayer, and then they have prepared some things downstairs for you to try. Okay? All righty? Let's pray together. Dear Father, thank you for your love, your kindness. Thank you for knowing what is best for us. Thank you for bringing Dr. Deal here. And we ask, Father, that you would bless him as he return home, that you will keep him and that you would help us, Father, to do the things that we have learned so that we can be a resource to the people around us. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Want to thank also the health ministry department, okay? Dr. Joshua, Elder Good News, Dr. Nicholas, those gentlemen who have worked together and made this happen this weekend. Thank you so much, all right? Amen. Did everyone get a handout?